Then we have other stuff going around in the world. Over in North America or Europe, if you're uncultured, we have Greenland becoming independent from Denmark. And Greenland, being the nothing country that they are, they decide to split up into two governments. Over in China, we have pretty much what's their last stand, with Inner Mongolia finally becoming independent and deciding just to unite with Mongolia. Yeah, that whole movement for independence is kind of a joke because China ends up criticizing them, and the demand Mongolia gives it back to them, but Mongolia says no. Eventually, we have the last bit of Chinese propaganda finally falling, and eventually a revolution happens in favor of Taiwan. China, the CCP, finally admits defeat, with Taiwan getting what's the rest of the country. And now it's helped with occupied by Japan, Korea, and a bunch of other countries because China, even though we've cut it down, Taiwan will probably have a harder time trying to take it because like they're an island and it's a big country, you know. Over in Malaysia, we have another country being independent, and it's called Duopur. A very original name. Um, so now let's go over to the biggest conflict that we're going to be having. We're going to be having America being involved in this, and they're a defender in this situation. We have we have a main declared war on by another country, and this specific country is going to be Russia. Now Russia's pretty weak at this point, but they've been able to slightly rebuild up. Um, this happens after Russia, the massive convoy of planes goes over Russia. Russia thinks it's military planes, but it was actually just supposed to be for like a massive like cargo thing. That was supposed to be going through Russia around here to get into Siberia, into Mongolia and Taiwan to help them. So all those are shot down, which enacts Article 5 of NATO. With this, we have Canada joining in the war. We also have Greenland also becoming a NATO member. And we also have most of Europe becoming a NATO member as well in this situation. This leads to Turkey, Greece, as I said, Turkey, Greece, Bulgaria, North Macedonia, Kosovo, Albania, Montenegro, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, Romania, Moldova, the Ukrainian Empire, Poland, Slovakia, Austria, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, um, San Marino, the Vatican City, Italy, France, Germany, Benelux, also Benelux, the UK, Ireland, all the Nordic countries, can't forget them, the Baltic Union, um, Spain and Portugal also join in on this. This also leads to Georgia joining. Georgia is also a NATO member in this situation. And basically, all of Europe is a NATO member except for Serbia, and everyone makes fun of them for it. But in this situation though, we see a rebellion trying to form up in Romania, but it's mostly put down. So Russia has the first upper hand in this as they start to put as with fierce tactics, they quickly push into Ukraine because they're still bitter about that for some reason. They start pushing down into Ukraine and they're able to take the capital Kiev and as well as and also pushing into Georgia, the Baltic Union, and Finland. Although after American troops finally arrive and everyone sort of arrives, they're oh god, what have I done? Sweet Jesus. All right, there we go. So now we have Russia now going to be starting to get pushed out of Ukraine, the Ukrainian Empire, I should say. So the advancement starts, and a massive encirclement happens of Russian troops. With this, we have to dip down to into Ukraine's territory, until it's eventually given back to Ukraine. Then we have mainly the Baltic Union, Finland, and the rest of NATO, all deciding to spearhead right into Moscow. Now we're going to be having Moscow be over here because Russia decided to move the capital and just kind of they said we're gonna take the building and move it somewhere else because they wanted to keep it there, but they also wanted to keep it farther away from NATO and using more stupid propaganda, saying acting like NATO's a goddamn country at this point. Um, the NATO troops are meeting fierce resistance from Russian civilians. And they can't kill them, obviously, but they had to fight back somehow. So they decided to use non-lethal weapons, such as stuff like flashbangs and other things, but it's not deadly. We also have anarchists deciding to join Russia's side, because they think that using tear gas is actually safe, even though it's completely not. Looking at you, French protesters. We have eventually though full of these civilians. So now we have a very close-up battle of Moscow. We have Finnish troops pushing through, as well as the Baltic troops. We also have a mainly American encirclement going around, and we also have Mexico being a support country and deciding to join in on this as well, with the rest of NATO making multiple separate pushes through here. With this, we have Finland also trying to cut off the troops furtherly, but Russia is able to push back. We also have the Siberian Union deciding to join in on this war because just screw it, might as well. And they're able to make steady advancement into Russia. Russia is almost completely made defeat, but they will not surrender until Moscow is lost. The advancements are finally lost. The pushback from against Finland is finally lost, and Moscow is being encircled. Eventually, we see this encirclement done, and now we have the final push up. Meeting fierce resistance in each of these blasts through. We have an encirclement being taken through, and another one being happening. They all meet the gates. All the troops meet the gates of Moscow. It's a very fierce battle, but it's eventually captured. So now that was a pretty intense scenario, but who cares? And we're gonna be having to redo some more borders. I can't even undo it well. So over in America we have the situation being settled. I'm gonna have to start uncoloring countries a lot. Florida did not sink into the ocean. No, thank you. Actually, it would be a good thing if they did. To be honest, at this point, Florida did. Over in Russia, we have a completely new government being set up, as well as the Siberian Union getting some territory out of them. Ukraine's gonna get a frick ton of land out of this as well, due to them having the most casualties in this war, other than Russia. So in Ukraine, we have them getting most of Belarus, as well as all their lands being liberated. So Ukraine is going to be becoming even thicker, and that's very, very thick Ukraine. Thank you. So now we're going to be having Georgia getting a bit of a spike up into Russia, and now we're going to go over to Finland. Finland and all the countries that aren't bordering Russia, they're just getting like massive reparations, and also Russian troops so they can get proper training and become part of their own army. A new Russian government is set up, and it's in favor of the West. We have the Baltic Union getting some pretty decent land expansions. These land expansions are eventually able to meet up to around here. And we also have Poland getting a little bit out of this because they also had a massive play in this. And Poland is Poland, and everyone always feels bad for them. We have them getting a little bit out of. We have them getting a little bit out of Russia. We have them getting like that spike up thing they used to have with Belarus, because if you don't know, Poland used to be cut off from like around here, and that's why they look a lot smaller in their maps. But they got part of Germany, but the Russian parts stayed to Russia. And we don't want to liquefy anything, that'll be chaos. And you'll see the rest of the borders eventually.